watch the Chicago way.
Bear fans, I'm excited to be the head football coach, and we're getting to work today. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the McCaskey family for giving me this opportunity. And we're going to bring the world championship back to Chicago. Bear down. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Bear down. I'm Ivan Vargas. Welcome back to another Bear Show. And that was a little bit loud in my ears. Welcome back to another Bear Show. It's going to be a good one today. I got three very special guests coming on tonight. Very special show because we're talking about brand new. We're talking about new eras, talking about starting out fresh, talking about new head coach Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears, guys. I'm joined tonight by Alan Brancher, JB, John Bowles, and former Chicago Bears linebacker Warrick Holdman. We'll go ahead and bring them on in just a second. Right now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe this to Sports Zone, like and subscribe to Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to another Bear Show on YouTube. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. Rashad Kennedy, what's up, man? How are you doing? Happy Friday to you. Hopefully everybody's happy because we're going to be talking about Chicago Bears football. Chicago Bears football that I think is going to start to become very popular again, very exciting again, with the hire of new head coach Matt Eberflus. Let's go ahead and get things started. I'm going to go ahead and bring out the guys, Alan, JB, and Warrick. How are you guys? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
Thanks for coming on, man. I hope you guys are excited because I'm not overly excited, right? But I'm optimistic. I like what I hear from Coach Eberflus. I like what I'm hearing from outside sources about Matt Eberflus. Tell me how you guys feel about Coach Eberflus. I know, well, first of all, thank you for coming on. Thank you for me share to you guys' page. Love your guys' conversations. Love the way you guys are talking. Warrick, last show up, man, you got it with your draft pick or with your playoff picks. That was a little harsh, but it was all right because I sucked too. Last week I sucked it up too. I got a little clip for you guys on that one. But let's start with JB. JB, how do you feel about Matt Eberflus coming into Chicago? Ryan Poles, that there's questions about him and whether it was his decision or not. There's rumors about how Polian and George had Jim Caldwell. You had Ted and Tony talking about, or Ted and I forgot who else was it. Was it Ted and Soup? Anyway, Ted wanted Dan Quinn. You had Ryan Poles going ahead and choosing for himself. How do you feel about that hire?
So as optimistic as I want to be, cautiously, I really can't be at this point because I just feel that this organization, like they just keep telling us one thing and then they go and do another. They say they want to hire a new head coach who's got former head coaching experience. Now we got a guy with no experience. We say we want an offensive mind that can develop Justin Fields. This is a defensive guy that has been a passing game coordinator at one point in time, but his focus is really linebackers in a 4-3 defense. I'm not ready to just riot and picket about the pick just yet. But if you wanted all those guys, I think you had multiple opportunities to find said guy, anywhere from Dan Quinn, even though I know he pulled his hat out the arena. Jim Caldwell was right there. That is the offensive guy with head coaching experience, or maybe even somebody else who had coaching experience that wasn't even on their list. I really do feel that polls came in and they were like, hey, you can pick, but only from these three. I really do feel that.
Warrick, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to speak as a former player. I'm going to say I'm going to give a guy a chance. Obviously, it wasn't the sexiest or the headline pick coach that everybody was looking for, but I say give the guy a chance. He showed that he could coach defense. He's been a coordinator. He's been worked at the Cowboys. He was in college, so he knows his way around football. So I'm more of just give him a chance, let's see what system you have, and before we kind of throw him to the wolves, so to speak.
Right, that's what a lot of people have done, Alan, and I disagree with it. I don't like the initial reaction, although it's justified. I feel like with the way the Chicago Bears have been run, the way that they've underperformed, underachieved, and just disappointed the fan base worldwide. What do you feel about this hire? I don't think that you think it's a bad hire at all.
No, I'm kind of impartial to this. Like right now, I'm kind of at odds with it. I'm trying to see the silver lining behind it, but we all kind of wanted an offensive guy in here, and we're kind of let down at that aspect. Now we've been hearing some reports here and there that he's bringing in some good guys. Maybe, hopefully that's the case. We'll see more about that later, but I'm more interested in this offensive hire. So saying that, I like what Matt Eberflus is about. I like what he brings to the team. He literally has a stat in here that's just about loafing, guys. I mean, that alone has to get you a little bit pumped for this. So I'm not completely out of the woods with it yet. I do have my doubts, but I'm going to wait and just kind of see how this offensive staff really comes together, because I don't want this to turn into another Lovie Smith where we have a rotating offensive I guess the word I'm looking for
OC
would be carousel.
Oh yeah.
Just over and over again. As soon as someone gets good, someone else comes in over and over again. Justin Fields needs someone that's consistent, that's going to be there for years to come, and that's something I think that we missed the boat on this hire.
Now, when it comes to development, because I'm in agreement with you. I wanted an offensive guy. Regardless of what I wanted, regardless of what majority of what Chicago wanted, they went with integrity. They went with leadership. They went with holding guys accountable, which the Chicago Bears, let's be real, for the past few, I want to say maybe minus like that 2018 season where it was just like this. It was that typical blip where the Chicago Bears have this success and don't hold on to that success. I just feel like it's been, how do I say it? It's been gone. There hasn't been that. You've seen the Trestman era. You've seen the Matt Nagy era, and then a little bit of the John Fox era. I felt like John Fox, if you give him the right quarterback, if you give the guy what he wants, maybe this fares a little bit better. Maybe, if you keep the running game intact with Jordan Howard when you had him, and you allow, maybe it's different. Nonetheless, the integrity and the guys accountable. That was the main thing you saw. You know about Anthony Miller. You know about Javon Wims. You know about guys. You've seen guys this year, first game of the season, you're not touching a wide receiver after he makes a catch in the secondary. Last game of the season, and this is something that they pointed out, you're doing the same damn thing. So I feel like that part they got right at the very least. They're talking about bringing in an offensive guy, and I really like this idea about going after somebody from Green Bay. They're talking about Luke Getsy, passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Apparently he's the top candidate, but apparently they also offered him a job. So this guy already has an offer. Does anybody have an idea of who Luke Getsy is, and what should we know about Luke Getsy? Alan, we'll start with you.
I don't know a lot. The only thing I know is that he's the one that draws up these plays. So obviously we need an offensive coordinator that knows how to game plan, how to call plays. So obviously this is the choice that we're looking at. I've heard some other names thrown around too. The guy from the Chiefs, same role. There's guys all over the leagues that they're looking at. Getsy, I think that's more like for me, I really want that hire just so we can stick it to the Packers just a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just something that from what I've seen him really game planning. And the other thing that we're not even really talking about here is that could be two offensive coaches leaving the Packers. Maybe the writing's on the wall there with an Aaron Rodgers that maybe these guys don't think he is coming back. And maybe this is the time really to pounce on what they have and steal it away. That's just my take.
JB, play calling is going to be a big part of that because LaFleur calls the plays in Green Bay.
Correct.
They're offering Getsy the opportunity to call plays here in Chicago. So that, you have that opportunity. I think that kind of trumps what they're offering in Green Bay, especially if you're going to just sit second fiddle to somebody and not have that final say, which I feel like they're going to give whoever the offensive coordinator is, here's your quarterback, make it work, try to make this work. How do you feel about that? Do you think that they need to? There was a bit rushed that they're offering a guy a job right off the top because there's Pep Hamilton out there. There's a bunch of other guys that Alan alluded to that are out there that are just as qualified.
So I'm gonna start one way and I'm gonna circle back. This is a classic putting the cart before the horse scenario, because what was Nagy's biggest problem? Play calling, right? So now we want to empower a guy who can draw up plays scheme-wise like Nagy could, but never called plays. So now we're going to have a rookie GM, a rookie head coach, and a rookie offensive coordinator / play caller. But our biggest thing is let's develop Justin Fields. I don't see that really working out. Not saying that a guy shouldn't be able to get a chance to cut his cloth, but right now, Justin is like his rookie year all over again. I wouldn't pair him with somebody that is a rookie just learning himself. Because one of the greatest things that we know when you have certain coaching trees, Belichick, Parcells, Andy Reid, what have you, those guys all develop their coaches into turning into better coaches. Sean Payton, what have you, as a play caller. But those guys have gotten an opportunity under a head coach to call those plays and show that they can do so. I mean, what's next? We get a rookie defensive coordinator. We just did that with Sean Desai.
So well, it sounds like, I hear, and it sounds. I'll try to interrupt, but it sounds like they're going to do that. It sounds like fresh new faces at Hallis Hall is what they're going to is how they're going to approach this, right? It's an uplift of a facelift at Hallis Hall at Soldier Field. Looking at a Pep Hamilton, looking at like I said, looking at these offensive minds, right? Complementary football, Warrick, right? Running the football, running the football, playing strong defense, generating turnovers. That's what Matt Eberflus brings to this team, right? And I feel like getting back to that Lovie Smith run. You have a good, strong running game. Hopefully, your quarterback could just do his job, right? Not play all world, even though I think we have an all the world type of talent waiting in the wings, and play strong defense. Talk about that mentality that Eberflus is, and I'm going to try to pull up that clip of him mic'd up, swarming to the football, and what it really means to get after the ball, run into the whistle, and even after that, and even then some. Talk about that mentality, Warrick.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that when I heard him talk, when I was learning more about him, I really like to hear like how he talked about his enthusiasm for the defense, like having counting loaves and stuff. That's like stuff I remember when I played. Like the coaches that really preach defense, they wanted the backbone of the team to be the defense. They made us accountable. And that's the big thing. Like they make it where we have to have turnovers. We have to make sure we give our offense a short field, or if they make a mistake, that we get off the field and get them the ball back. So having that type of coach that has that mentality, it's going to just feed into the Bears. It's just going to feed into the defense, especially now that we know that we're going to have a young coach, a young GM, a young offensive coordinator. We probably going to have some turnaround on the roster. So it's going to be some young guys we need to step up. So having that type of coach that's going to make those players learn like what it is to play football, like to be accountable. Not trying to speak on Nagy and the previous people, but I'm just saying a new coach with new faces, it's going to bring energy into Hallis Hall, and they're going to know they're going to have to be accountable on defense. And as we know, Chicago is we live and die by the defense. Excuse me.
No doubt. And on top of that, and I'm glad you said that, because I feel like there's a sense of getting back to your roots, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers, for instance, they kind of got back to their roots. They drafted a Najee Harris. They didn't have a running back that they could really trust for years. I mean, Big Ben is going to be gone. But in the recency, they kind of gotten back to their roots. Defense, running the football, trying to be that tough, in-your-face type of a football team. I'm looking for, and I know we're jumping a little ahead, but I'm looking for toughness at the point of attack. Winning at the point of attack. Up in your face, smack you in the mouth. Maybe we have a scuffle type of an approach to this. offense, and offensive line has been my main focus. I know the defense has great talent, but offense and offensive line. Alan, what do you think about Ryan Poles being an offensive lineman? Do you think that that's going to matter? I mean, I feel like it's going to matter. A lot of people feel like it's going to matter. What he's done with, in Kansas City, finding some of these guys, or even working with some of the guys that he's been working with there. How do you feel like he's going to approach, after him and Eberflus find their staff? How do they approach this draft? You have the HBCU combine going on this weekend. You have the Senior Bowl coming up real soon. How does he approach it?
I think it's big physical guys. Ivan, really, like a name that I actually just heard right before I came on, maybe offensive coach Bill Callahan coming in to run this offensive line as well. So that's a name that we should really look out for, physical, running the ball. I think it makes sense. I really do. You've got a young Justin Fields. He's going to need to learn. He's going to need to develop more, learn how to throw the ball in the NFL. And what better way than to have a David Montgomery, a bell cow, to have running the ball on a consistent basis. This team right now should be a top 5 rushing team in the league, not in the middle, up by where the Philadelphia Eagles are. That kind of offense is what I'm expecting next year from them.
Warrick, JB, you guys on the same page? Offensive line?
Absolutely. First and foremost, he needs to look in-house. If his first sign is not James Daniels, again, that's going to be another question. Like, what are we really doing? He's 24 years old. He's really, really good. He's already with you. You don't let that guy leave. And he can play multiple positions. I mean, obviously, we don't know the story just yet, but within the next couple of weeks, I would assume he would try to build those trenches up first before he starts going for the bells and whistles. I would think so.
Got to go inside out. Absolutely.
Yeah, a team is made on both sides of the ball by your front line. So that's like when you talk about being physical and on point, or hitting, attacking the line of scrimmage, or having a force at the point of attack. It always starts with the line, like defense or offense. So, and that's one thing I think that would help also Justin Fields, like it'll spill over. Obviously, that helped the running game, but having him back there, knowing he feels secure and he can stay in the pocket, it'll just make him develop even better.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with Sean on Sean and Mine in the morning. It was, what offensive line are big time playmaker for Justin. And I gave him this
scenario of you're sitting there, you're watching the NFC Championship game, or you're just watching a Bears game, and the Bears are, have a chance to win it. A couple minutes left on in the game. Justin drops back. There's a wide receiver, your big play wide receiver, streaking down the field, and all of a sudden, boom! Justin sacked because you didn't have the right type of guy blocking for him. You didn't have the right guy in front of him. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Protect Justin at all costs, and then let him see where he, how he performs. But going and sticking with the defense, the Bears did go ahead and sign new cornerbacks coach James Rowe from the Colts, and also I hope I'm saying it right, Dave Borgonzi from the Colts, as well as a new linebackers Colts.
So he's bringing his staff.
Yeah. So you're going with familiarity. You have oh my God, I forget Leonard, Darius Leonard you had Darius Leonard as a linebacker. You had DeForest Buckner as a lineman. You've had number 23 who just got sent to the Pro Bowl. I'm forgetting his name right now. The cornerback that they have over there. Right. You have the outline of that here. And I feel like that's where he's going right now. Getting familiarity amongst the coaches is really crucial, because now you guys are all on the same page. You guys have, they've obviously worked together before. You're going to go ahead and inherit what I think is quality talent up front at the line, especially at the ends. If Khalil Mack comes back healthy, you have a all-world linebacker in Roquan Smith. Your cornerback in Jalen Johnson, I believe, can continue to grow. My fear is the secondary is the safeties, right? The safeties. You saw how Eddie Jackson kind of gotten exposed. They brought him up closer to the line of scrimmage, which I think limited the amount of space for him to go ahead. Because, playing in space, when you have to go ahead and make a tackle in space work, that it could be it could be cavernous, right? So I feel like for him, his mentality, bringing him down to here instead of having it all out here really helped him. But that's not the position you play, Eddie. Like you play that dead center. Right. I'm gonna go after turnovers. JB, where do they go after corner? Like, and also they're gonna have to use the free agency. They're gonna have to use free agency just as much as they're gonna have to hit in the draft.
How did they go ahead and correct this, the secondary spot, number 2 corner, and possibly fill in the safety role?
So obviously, money is going to be an issue unless we free up a little bit more on the salary cap side. I'll say this in my personal notes. I would like to go after a PJ Williams or a JC Johnson. I think it's JC Jackson.
JC
Jackson in New England, who is he's a free agent. Led the league in led the Patriots in interceptions with 8. If you draft, and that's where I say right now he's almost in a catch-22, because if you spend too much money in free agency, now you're cap strong. If you don't hit on certain picks in the draft, your first pick is not until in the mid-30s, I believe, in the second round. So now it's like, well, where do I go with that pick? I have a couple of guys that I have interest in: Jaquan Brisker, Lewis Sin. But right now, I mean, are we really going to try to go after like one of those big name $13 million free agents? No. Like, for what? It's no point. So you might have to downgrade and go after some of those second tier guys that are true number 2s, but are making around that $5 to $8 million range just for cap reasons. So are we getting a true number 2? Maybe. Are we trying to catch lightning in a bottle with a guy like an older guy like a Patrick Peterson who's coming up, who's a free agent? It's like you got a lot of caveats here. You can go. But if you go too young with a new system and a new defense and everything is new, and the Bears go 3-14, are we satisfied? Or do we start pointing the finger like, oh, here we go again? Because let's face it, we've been down so long. We want to win now, or at least be competitive now.
No doubt. And I think that's part of the backlash at this Eberflus hire. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like there's that much backlash. I just think it's people upset because it wasn't that sexy name that we had mentioned before. It wasn't, it wasn't Dan Quinn, or it wasn't, Superman, or whoever the hell they wanted. You know what I'm saying? I like the fact that he's an underdog. I like the fact that he's got a chip on his shoulder. The way other coaches speak about him, Rod Marinelli in particular, he was talking about him. I think I heard him 6-7 to score. Was it yesterday or today? But just the way that he speaks about Matt Eberflus, right? The way that he, in this clip I'm going to pull up right here, the way that he talks about his players, talks to his players. Warrick, when you hear a coach that's invested not only in this team but in you, right? And you feel like, man, this guy's invested in me. How does that make you feel as a player? How do you play it to another level? Does it take your game to another up another notch?
Of course, because number one, I play in the NFL, where it's every man for himself. Really, we independent contractors. You kind of eat what you hunt, like as we used to say. Like it ain't nobody giving you nothing. So when you have a coach that actually looking out for you, or actually go encourage you, and actually, because most time you get 1 or 2 chances and they move on. Like they don't have time to work with a guy once you get to this level. So if you have a coach that actually really invested, which like he sound like, which I said, like once I heard him talk and how he was talking about defense, I was like, oh yeah, like he a guy that you would like to play for, because he gonna talk to you in practice. He gonna tell you what you're doing wrong. He gonna tell you the truth. So that's all players gonna ask for, a new fresh face that's just gonna give them a new chance to show what they could do for the Bears. So,
and with that, looking at the defense, looking at how the defense played this past season, I don't think it was terrible, right? Like I don't think it was terrible. It was just you saw them kind of fading at the end. Like guys weren't buying in. Obviously Matt Nagy's was out on the way out. Guys weren't buying in. I don't think you're going to have that. But what you need to have is a resurgence in the turnovers, and I really feel like putting an emphasis on defense. Even though JB, I agree with you. I was like, man, it's going to be Jim Caldwell. I was thinking, man, this is going to be Jim Caldwell. You're going to pair Jim Caldwell with Justin Fields. You got a guy that's been in the league, been a coach. Probably, he's like, I call it pretty much like Uncle Jim. Like that's how I feel. That's how I feel about a Jim Caldwell. It's like Uncle Jim. You know what I'm saying? You pair him up with Justin Fields. He has that comfortability factor. I think the best thing for Justin Fields could be this complementary offense, just because he is young. You know what I mean? Run the football, using both running backs. I mean, like getting the little things down because we know his talent. We know this. We know the potential that he has, right? We know the skill set, the speed, the arm. I think just focusing on the little things and then letting Justin realize, oh, this is now open. Oh, that's now that I've solved this, the smaller things, the smaller nuances, now I could go ahead and open it up big. Looking at how this division is going to line up next season, right? Nobody knows what Aaron's doing. It's kind of up in the air. And then even if, let's say, Aaron returns, I still have questions. There's still a lot there. There are still a lot of questions. There's a lot of guys that are going to be leaving. So that Aaron Rodgers, that's a very, very, very faint hope that he returns, because they're going to be in disarray, which makes me happy. I mean, it makes all of us happy. I mean, we're not Packers fans here. It makes all of us happy that they're going to be in disarray. I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I? I'm sorry.
No, it's all
He
good.
was speaking about the division.
Oh, the
and
division.
Aaron Rodgers possibly leaving.
Right. So now that opens up the division, right? You have the Lions who are rebuilding. You have the Vikings who are going to be rebuilding soon.
Right.
You have the Bears with their quarterback that they believe in. Now they've got their GM they believe in, their head coach that the GM believes in. Where do you see the Bears this season? Right. Let's hold back our enthusiasm. Let's hold back the overdoing it. I think the Bears sit 10, maybe if it's a good year, about 7 to 9 if it's like even. I think the Bears are going to be the same type of team this year as they were last year. That's my take.
I mean, that's a loaded question because there's a lot of things that we really have to look at going into this offseason. You know, are we getting James Daniels back? What are we doing with Bilal Nichols? What are we doing with Hicks? You know, Danny Trevathan, probably gone. Tariq Cohen, probably gone. Like, there's a lot of names on this list that we don't know that's necessarily going to be here. And I don't necessarily just want to win one season. I want to win multiple seasons. So the way I'm looking at this, and I know fans are going to kill me for this, and I've been pining for it, I think it's time to get rid of these old guys. I love Mac. I love what he brings to this team. I think that cap hit is just getting too big, and it's only going to get worse. He's a diminishing player. It's only going to get, a little worse from here on out. Robert Quinn, it's kind of the same scenario with me. As much as I love these guys, I think you can really look at them after a post June 1st trade, and you can save quite a bit of money. I actually brought it up on one of our shows. If you trade him, Mac, and Eddie Jackson after June 1st, I think you save around $84 million the next 3 seasons. That's a lot of cap money. It's a lot of draft picks that we can use to build this foundation and this offense and move towards a Justin Fields and move towards the future so we can sustain success, not only just for next season, but for the next seasons to come. And that's something I don't think now is probably going to happen with having a guy like Matt Eberflus in house. But I still am hearing rumblings about Mac possibly being moved just because you've got to get rid of some of that salary cap and possibly get something back. You guys all know the Oakland Raiders came knocking last offseason. They wanted a second and third. You can get that now for him. Von Miller left. I think he had 4.5 sacks whenever they traded him off. And I think that's the same type of guy. So why not go after that kind of move and start building towards your future? You've got to really start breeding a competition here. You've got to start breeding this next level of our whole football team and stop letting these older guys just take up all these reps, take up all this time. I want to see what these young guys have. I want to start evaluating these guys as well, not just our old veterans.
Well, see, and we agree, and then we disagree on certain things. Always, AB, with that.
That's the fun of this.
Right, it definitely is. But I have to bring this to you guys' attention. Like, not one time have we heard George, have we heard Ted, have we heard Eberflus yet? Pope. Not one time have we heard them say, tear it down to the studs, start all over. Nobody coming into this situation is thinking, oh, we have to start from level 0 and build our way up. I think they have a good component in the Bears that are on this team to where they feel that a tweak here or there, they can be right back competitive. But I'm look at the maturation in Detroit. Although the record may not have shown, but if you do a deeper dive, they played damn hard for their coach.
Oh, I was loving Detroit, and Shocker. I was over there loving how Detroit was playing. They were in every single game, even when they
Yes.
were getting, even if they got blown out, they got blown out. But there was the one in particular against the Niners, that first game, they fought all the way back. They were losing games by less than 3 points, last second field goals. That team played very hard for that coach and Dan Quinn. That, like you said, that maturation process, getting the old out and bringing in that new mentality. I really love that about Detroit.
So we have to see if that's what's going to motivate the Bears now. Unfortunately, I don't care about what Aaron Rodgers is going to do right now. I feel his time is passing. He was a hurdle, but now we have to eliminate that hurdle, and that's just the long and short of it. But when you have all rookie coaching staffs with veteran players, Warrick, you say this all the time. These people trying to feed their families. They're trying to make sure they might not do. Hey, look, young guy, I've been here a while. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Do you know what you're doing? And I could see that locker room struggle, especially remember they used to say that about Tom Coughlin years ago when he came in being the disciplinarian and everything. And they're like, who is dude? Now, although it did equate to a couple of Super Bowls, a play here or there, that doesn't happen. 2 9-7 seasons, 2 wild cards, 2 Super Bowls. But is that the blueprint we're looking for here? Like, I need to know, what is Pole's vision?
Right.
What is Eberflus's vision? Are we totally tearing it down to the studs? Because if we don't, we don't have a Tampa 2 defense. We don't.
No.
We don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. We don't. We got a number 1. We got a top 5 to 7 running back. We don't have a top line. So it's like, until we get a little bit more familiar, all the rah-rah clipboard stuff, made for TV, hard knock, that's cute. That's real cute. But when it comes down to pure football X's and O's, are you going to evaluate talent properly? Are you going to coach the proper guys up? Are you going to let your veteran players like a Quinn or a Mac, if they're still with us, are you going to let them play how they need to play to produce? And then what are you going to do in free agency? Are you going to build us up?
Yeah, and I notice a lot of your fans in here are saying, we have to win now. We have to win now. It's nice to win for a season, guys, but you really need to look at the future and understand that the longer you hold on really to these other guys, the more you're hindering our growth for the future. You're actually giving a lot of reps away to a Travis Gibson, like those next ascending guys really need to start coming up, and we can't breed competition whenever we've got all pro guys all over the field constantly, because these other guys below them know they're not going to get these playing times. Yes, I love Mac. I love Quinn. I do. But the ceiling for this team, I don't believe, and I think a lot of us feel the same way about this. I don't think it's next year. I think you're going to start looking at good incremental growth in 2023. And I think 2024 and 2025 is really your right time with this offense to really see his growth. And we know the salary cap is going to jump astronomical numbers then. You're going to set yourself up with draft picks. You're going to set yourself up with a good free agency, and you can build towards that 2024-2025 season to where you still got Justin on a rookie deal and you can pay some other guys and maybe shoot after a Super Bowl. I just don't think looking at next year is the right move for Bears fans. I think we need to really look at the years after that and build towards that, because we know that there's going to be warts with this team next year. We don't know what they're truly going to be. And really just going in and going, oh, we got to take the division now. We got to do this. That's all fine and dandy. But do you guys want a 2018, or do you want a franchise that's going to have a New England Patriots type vibe to where we're winning consistently for year in and year out? And that's where a lot of Bears fans have a disconnect, really, because we love our players here. We do. I do too, guys. But it's just, I don't think it's right really to just hinder and just hold on to these guys a little bit too long, if you know what I mean, because these guys are probably going to get cut by the time we're good anyway, because those cap numbers are going to be way too big for them to support those guys that have aged even more, and also build this offense up. Maybe go out next year and get, JB always brings it up, a DK Metcalf. Go out and look at these big playmaking guys, but start this year building inside and move out next year. That's just the way that I look at it.
But see, that's the short-sightedness that I'm talking about, because who said we have to win next year?
Fans right in here right now, JB. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's
Fans
feel
are
this way.
definitely going to want fans
hungry.
want blood. You know what I'm saying?
Which
fans,
I get that.
Fans
I
want
completely.
they're like, we want a Super Bowl now, regardless of how ridiculous that sounds. You know?
Warrick, can you
get
please
that.
tell us the story that you told us when you see the new guy coming in? Yeah, you can take all the reps in practice, but I'm playing.
Right. And that's the one thing I was going to say, that the Bears going to have to decide, like, do they want to rebuild? If they are, they need to decide and say, yes, we're going to rebuild, because that's the kind of thing they got. I think they had the fans in limbo too, because nobody's saying nothing about rebuilding. The way, if you listen to the Bears, they make it seem like we need 1 or 2 players and we ready. And that's just, I don't think that's the case. Like, I think it's still more holes. You still have a quarterback that's still finna learn a whole new offense again. So basically, he has to start over. Yes, he probably know the ropes of being a quarterback and how the NFL works. But he's finna learn a new playbook. He's finna get a new coordinator that's gonna like him to do the things he likes. So he got to erase everything he learned from Nagy and all that. So I say, 2 years from now, use that time to move players that you need to move, acquire draft picks, start building your team through the draft, getting good quality guys. Like, that's what I say. And I say we have to wait. Like, I understand, like, fans always want to win now, but we're not in that scenario. I'm sorry. We're in a scenario where we need to build, take some time. We might take a couple more bumps along the way 2 years from now. But like you said, we build through the draft, build through free agency, get good quality guys, clean our cap up a little bit. Then we're in a perfect position. That's when you start building a team that's year in and year out competitive.
Yes.
And that's why I say I have a problem with them coming in and trying to say, well, we're making it obvious that you guys need to be real intentional on winning now.
HR, you're actually the guy that I was speaking about. Sorry to burst your bubble there, man.
No, but that's fine, because
that's realistic.
Hey, those are the guys that'll buy tickets when we 3-13 or 3-14, 13-3, whatever. But you guys touched on some really good points that I want to drum home again. Ivan, please. When we look at the plate that was given to Poles, it was not set to win now. You know, we're not in cap purgatory, but we're not great.
Right.
Our draft capital is very low. We have high contracts like a Nick Foles that we really can't get rid of. Like, if somebody says, well, would you give me a 7th-round pick for Nick Foles? Hell yeah. Like, just to get him off my books.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to make it come into this guy like you said, like he's not coming in to win today.
Right.
And there's a lot more, and I agree with you guys. I'm going to stick with mine because I could see a overachieving seven win Bears team. I could see an overachieving 9 win Bears team. Not that they're going to be good, but that they did what Allen didn't want, and they kept the older guys, and they're trying to win now, and they're trying to get that's who the Bears are, and that's kind of where I'm seeing
their schedule plays a point too. Now, don't forget, if they have a weaker schedule, that could equate to 2 to 3 more wins.
Correct, absolutely correct.
Even just the philosophy too, JB, because they're going to be more of a run-oriented team, and you're still going to have Mac and Quinn there, so they're probably going to put us back in purgatory. And I hate saying that, but that's exactly where we're going to be.
I can look at I like the 3-year window idea. You know, or the plan if they have a 3-year plan. Yeah. Old contracts, which old contracts though? Because I could see them going ahead and doing just like you said, Al, maybe going ahead and trying to get rid of a Mac. They got to get rid of an Eddie Goldman because that's $9 million towards the cap. So I could see them approaching that. Who do they fill? Like, how do they fill in those slots? We got some younger guys with some talent. Where do they go ahead and find the guys? Do they find the guys throughout the draft? Do they find the guys in free agency? My biggest, I'm just eager to see Ryan Poles' draft. I'm eager to see the breakdowns. I'm eager to hear the rumors, the talking, seeing how he approaches it. I mean, I pray to God it's not like the last Ryan that we had, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be at all. But I'm eager because he seems like a guy that's assertive. He wants his guy, but he's going to get the best guy available for the job. It seems to me the way that he approached the coaching hire. He's going to go out and get the best player available for that job. Now, when he goes ahead and trades some of these guys off, or if he trades some of these guys off, then that's where I'm like, all right, how does he, that now I'm like, well, where are you going to go find him in free agency? Or how are you going to replace him in the draft? I like a Travis Gibson. I think he took a step towards the back end of the season. Get him a guy like Eberflus. Let me see how he is with some more aggression, with somebody holding him accountable to play at the best of his abilities. Going into next season, looking at Justin Fields. What are you guys looking for Justin to do? We can't assess him. There was flashes because of what I don't even want to mention this past era because it irks me so much. So before when Justin was with these other guys, you saw these flashes. They didn't protect them correct. They didn't call the correct plays. Other than that, what are you looking for Justin to do next season? How does he take another step right in front of our eyes? And I know a lot depends on this offensive coordinator, but just him as a player, because you go out and make plays. Does he need to be all world, or does he need to just, like I said, try to be that game manager to start, and then let your athleticism, when you see it open, go ahead and strike?
See, I think that how do I word this right? So his trajectory to me is kind of the same that we saw with a Russell Wilson. Early in Russell Wilson's career, he was more of the run first kind of guy. He didn't really know how to check down correctly. He didn't know how to make the progressions right. And he had beast mode behind him. So that's kind of the same kind of thing that I feel about Justin Fields. He can come in with a good run game, learn how to play the position the correct way with a real offensive coordinator. Maybe, like you said, a Pep Hamilton, one of these guys that can come in, work with him, and incrementally grow throughout the year behind a good run game. That's just the way that I see it. I feel like he's the same kind of guy, just bigger, faster, and stronger.
JB, Warrick?
Oh, well, I was going to say, number one, I think a lot of we're forgetting about Justin Fields. And I think that he's the most important guy in the building in the Hallis Hall right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we talking about either winning next year or 3 years from now, Justin Fields is the most important. He's the guy that should be feeling the best, no matter what scenario we come up with, because he's the guy he's a franchise quarterback. So that we claiming that as the franchise quarterback now. So I say all he need to do is, like you said, it don't have to be no goal now to win MVP. Just show that, number one, that he can lead the team, which I always believe in. My quarterback is a leader on both sides of the ball. Even if he ain't even with defense, quarterback still could lead the defense by how they play, like how you watch. You're going to rally around your quarterback. That's just good teams do that. I just want him to get more comfortable, making reads and getting the ball out faster and throwing the receivers before they get open. Don't wait till they get open, throw them open. Those type of things. Those are little things that make teams better, and you start seeing protecting the ball, not making that throw, not running around and trying to make a throw, hero ball, just throw the ball out of bounds and get ready for the next play. That's just maturity stuff. That's the stuff I like to see, and that's the stuff that make the team. When you see your quarterback developing like that as a teammate, it just is the quarterback play always brings energy to your team. So when you see him doing that and fighting and getting better, it's going to make everything kind of feel a little better at practice and game. So like I say, Justin Fields is the most important guy, no matter between the GM hire, the head coach. He's the most important guy in Hallis Hall right now.
Absolutely. So I kind of liken what AB said. I've always said that Justin Fields to me is a combination of Russell Wilson and Randall Cunningham put together. That's what I've always seen him as. And if I got a season from him with 3,000 yards passing, 500-600 yards rushing, let's say 20 to 25 total touchdowns, passing and running, I think that's a step in the right direction, because we also don't want whoever comes in to turn him into Lamar Jackson, and we don't really want him to turn into Josh Allen or Cam Newton, because we saw, a la what happened to Cam Newton, he started to get beat up. I'm starting to see Josh Allen is running over 122 times a year.
Josh Daniels is next because he just went to the Giants. So
Right.
we're going to see Josh Daniels hopefully turn into that too.
But,
No doubt. And that scares me too, because if we remember, Justin Fields' rookie year also, in his rookie year, he also played Clemson in January in college. Got hit, had the rib injury. And I point to this a lot because I feel like Justin, it's not that he's scared to run. It's that he don't want to get hit like that again. You know what I'm saying? So there's still some second guessing. He did a lot better with reacting as the season progressed. I mean, obviously I would just equate that to being a rookie. You know, you're growing, the speed slowing down. My fear is that you're going to get a guy, you're going to, try to put it all on Justin, right? And I'm not saying that this is how they're going to approach it, but I'm afraid that even if in Justin's mind, that he'll have to put it all on himself, or the Bears will put it all on him, and then you'll start to see him trying to force stuff, or you'll start to see him second guessing himself. It was that interview. He had an interview, and he was talking specifically about that rib injury. My greatest fear would be Justin going down when he doesn't have to, because you're calling a play or you're trying to treat him like JB said, like Cam, like Lamar, and even Cam and Lamar. I'm like, man, save these men. Like somebody come and save these men. Like they're willing to do it because they're football players, because they're superstar athletes. They got the ego, they got the body, they got the athleticism. Don't abuse them. That's my thing. Justin Fields is a quarterback. Don't abuse him and don't mistreat him like he's just, a bell cow. He's not a running back. Treat him as such. Let his athleticism work work on its own when he sees
there
it.
you go. And if that OC comes in and we start seeing similarities to what they did to a Cam or what they're doing to Josh Allen right now, then we really know that's not the guy.
Yep. 100% agree with
That'll
you,
be
JB.
told,
That's
that'll be
exactly
told a
what
lot
matters.
sooner than later. Be honest.
1,000%. That's exactly what the offensive staff is supposed to help him not do. Trying to make sure he slides at the correct times, making sure he gets out of bounds right. Don't put him in harm's way ever. Don't let this kid go out there and injure himself and ruin what could potentially be down the road. That's why this offensive staff, this hire is massive. It's the second most just outside of the head coach. We've got to get a good offensive staff in here to make sure he doesn't make the same mistakes he made last year. But last year he showed us this. He showed us that no matter what happens, he grew throughout the season. No matter when it was the Cleveland game when he was sacked 9 times, or even before that when they played Buffalo and he got smashed. He learned about looking around, checking. He learned NFL game speed. And now next he needs to learn, just like Warrick said, he needs to learn how to throw guys open. He needs to learn what open is in the NFL, and having a good run game is going to help him with that. It's going to take the pressure off of him so he doesn't feel like he's going to have to be that guy all the time. And that's just what has to happen with this team going forward until we get the weapons around him to really build this offense to what we know it's going to be. A la kind of like we saw with Seattle. They started off as a run team and slowly they just brought along Russell Wilson, and then they gave him the keys and he drove the car, and we all know what happened next. But that's just the way that this has got to go down for this to really succeed.
Yeah, running the football, David Montgomery, just a dog. You know what I mean? Just a dog. Just a straight up
top
dog.
5 guy every year, no question. Yeah.
Who say again?
I said he should be a top 5 guy in this league, no question.
If he got the touches, absolutely.
Every year.
Oh yes.
He almost got that in spite of Matt Nagy. He still almost hit those numbers, even with him running the ball 7 times a game or 7 times in one game.
And that's why I think he obviously he failed at so many levels, but that's one of the biggest things, like failing to adjust, failing to realize what's going on in the football game, failing to realize what's going on against individual matchups, right? Yeah. Just the smaller details. David Montgomery is getting 10 yards a pop on first down. You're getting a first down off of a first down, and you go ahead and you stop that. Or you go ahead and you take him off the football field.
Take him off the field.
And even if when Khalil Herbert was doing his thing, I'm a big look. I've not in the NFL, but I've played running back before. That's my spot. I have an affinity for running the football. But like you guys have said, it makes your quarterback that much better because he has the given yards, right? He has the yards that he's going to get. And then he could go ahead and work off you because you're worried about his 2 bell cows about to run your ass over. And looking at how Justin was scrambling and just trying to find something at certain times, man, I think the lack of touchdowns in the red zone can be directly equated to that. to not having a commitment to that running game. I don't think Matt Eberflus is going to have that problem at all. Looking at how they finished off the season though with it, I'm proud of Matt. I'm proud of David Montgomery. I'm proud of Khalil Herbert. I just wish we seen more from it. I wish we seen more from it. I think we would have saw a better Justin Fields. I think we would have saw we saw a better Andy Dalton, a better Andy Dalton if they would have just focused a little more on that running game. JB, you had Alan had mentioned about DK Metcalf.
Yes,
I want a big play wide receiver. Like I love DK. Like I think DK in that system right now. You know, you have a Tyler Lockett who Russell trusts so much. You've seen him make big plays throughout the years. I feel like that offense, they just need a rebuild. I feel like Seattle is they're in that what do we do purgatory. Are we this team? Are we that team? Are we none of this? And I feel like you might get a guy like Russell Wilson on the move, but a DK Metcalf, you know, does he fit the Chicago? First of all, does he fit the Chicago Bears, right? Does he fit the Chicago Bears as far as like personality-wise? Are the Bears really going ahead and saying, all right, we don't care? Like, because the Bears have this type of a standard, right? Notre Dame as well has that same type of, you got to be this tall to ride this ride, or you got to have certain stipulations to be here. DK's an eccentric dude. He speaks his mind. I mean, does he fit here? Is this offense going to be too conservative? Is what I'm trying to get at.
So I'll say this. The last time we had an offensive player speak his mind, I believe that equated to a Super Bowl. The last time, his name would be Jim McMahon. He was called the Punky QB. And he basically just said, you know what, to whatever rules, I'm going to play my way. We're going to get ahead. We're going to win.
I agree, Alex.
Right? But with a DK, I look at three things. I look at ties because his father played here. I look at the chance for him to build a rapport with a quarterback that's learning how to play football, as opposed to Russell Wilson, who's already got his favorite or who's already kind of in his niche. I mean, whether you watch football or played fantasy, whatever, we knew that DK was sorely used, and you could see the frustration. You got that big target, that eliminates a lot of things on the Bears with 50-50 balls because we have a ton of short receivers. Yeah. Sometimes the great Tom Brady would just throw it up. Mike Evans come down with it. So let's not act like that's not a part of the game that we need to adapt, especially for a Justin Fields. So if we can get a DK in here, okay, he may be a little eccentric, but hell, you want to change with the times with everything else, you might as well do this too.
Right.
but like Warrick, you can talk to that because, you know, you was there. So Bears all buttoned up and, you know, kind of tight-lipped or whatever. Maybe that is the change we need. Hell, Dicker was a fiery, outspoken guy.
I like the idea. I like and you can see like DK on the field. He'll fight you now. I mean, DK's he's a big dude. Like he's a big dude. And I like that. I like that edge. I was ready to go ahead and be happy with Brian Flores. You know what I mean? So attitude ain't an issue for me. My question is more: are they really going to commit to, hey, Ryan Poles, this is yours? Go get a DK Metcalf. Yeah, he might be he might give you the business, or he might, tell you what's what, but he's going to go up and win that 50-50 ball 60% of the time. He's going to go ahead and catch the ball in traffic, 60. It's just to the Bears' benefit. Warrick, JB had mentioned, like, speaking to the culture in the building, and you were in there. You were in there before George got in there. Right. Talk about that. Is it very bougie? You know what I mean? Is it Midwestern bougie? You know what I'm saying? Like,
very country clubbish.
Country. Thank you, JB. Country clubbish. Is it very country clubbish? I've been there one time for training camp, or 2 times for training camp this past season. I mean, it seems kind of like that. Like it's very ushered in, ushered out. With the fans at least. How is it as a player and personnel in the building?
I don't think it's that bad as a player, but obviously I was a player at that time. So, but you gotta remember, it's still in Lake Forest. I'm pretty sure. So it's in Lake Forest area. So, but the Bears are an interesting team because, like you said, everything around the city of Chicago is hardworking, hard nosed. That's just what the Bears are made. That's when I was drafted to the Bears. That's like you just feel it once you walk in the building and you see the Singletaries, and you see the buckets on the wall, and you sitting in the room, you see I'm sitting at my desk, and behind me is a big picture of Wilbur Marshall. Like you know what you come here to do, like especially as a linebacker. So and just speaking with a DK Metcalf, I think if he came, which my only thing with DK Metcalf was his personality. I just didn't want it to be too strong for Justin Fields too early. Like we didn't see that before where a receiver's personality kind of overtake the quarterback, kind of like Dez Bryant did to Dak when he was a young guy. Not talking about DK, because talent-wise, as a receiver, I love him. That's the only drawback. I was like, is that the type of guy? But hey, at this point, if he's a playmaker and he fit and he want to come to the Bears and he want to win, I'll take him. So having that type of guy in the building, like I said, those are the type of guys you want. Those guys that you know gonna fight on Sunday for you. Whether you want him to fight or not, he's gonna fight. So
yeah,
that just energizes your team. So yeah, I wouldn't have no problem with him. Like I say, only thing I would say is I just wouldn't want his personality to kind of overtake Justin Fields' development.
Yeah, and he's not going to be a free agent, I believe, until next offseason. So you've got time really next year really to get through the warts of this offense, start learning it better. And you're going to need a number one guy. Even if you're looking at a run-first offense, you're going to need that big body guy who can, have those short yardage catches, who can have the red zone hits. Because we still don't know what Cole Kmet's going to be. He's showing flashes a little bit here and there. It seems like the past two off seasons for me, he starts slow and he finishes a little bit better. So I'm hoping that trend really changes and it's more consistent next year to where we see a Cole Kmet who can come in and play 17 games and actually thrive in all games and not just late in the season. So we got.
But remember too, he didn't fit the offense because
he didn't.
They were running him like he was a Travis Kelce on certain plays. Yeah. Instead of like a Mark Bavaro. Just get in there and be big, be bruising. Right. So that's, again, back to play calling. Curl, flat is not a consistent play call for this team. It's just not. So play calling, again, so important.
Sticking with this DK talk, we'll call it finding a number one receiver, right?
Okay.
I agree with Warrick. I wouldn't want, if we go ahead and find a guy like a DK, established vet, I wouldn't want that personality, that T.O. personality, even though I think T.O. was probably the number 2 wide receiver of all time. He was that
definitely
good.
top 3.
Yeah, definitely in that conversation. That's how good T.O. was.
Right.
But that personality, I don't think DK's got too much of an overbearing one. But what we alluded to before about why he wasn't getting touches in Seattle, don't you think that could happen here as well? Because you got a connection with Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields going. They're in Florida right now, if I'm not mistaken, working out.
Yes.
You could have that same type of Lockett Wilson effect where Wilson is trusting Tyler Lockett. He's going to target Tyler Lockett, and then DK's over there running a fly route and just putting his hand up, waiting for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see that as well. I would imagine the Bears. And I would imagine Justin Fields would start to get a rapport with a bunch of guys. DK would be a veteran at that point. He would want to be winning because it's, at this point, it's like, what are you playing for? You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, what are you playing for? So I think DK's mindset will be to win. I think that would be it would be a dream, JB. I say that's a great call. I like the idea of going after DK Metcalf. It'll be aggressive. It'll be around the time that you guys had alluded to, that 3-year mark.
$30 million, I think, next offseason. So you've got enough to pay him.
Well, there you go. So you got enough to pay him. I like that idea. With all of our ideas, and there's so many opinions out there. Yeah. Some very bad, some really, really good. I think the main thing is, how do we get the Chicago Bears winning consistently? Like Alan said, how do we get that Patriots type of consistency where we're in it every year? The fan base believes in you every year. You're not getting called out by Joe from across the street and his mom. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting dogged out. You're not getting dogged out every single day on the news media, every single weekend. You don't have other people when you're on national television saying, "Why the fuck are we watching the Bears?" That's something that needs to be. It needs to be changed, and I feel like they could get that done, whether it be in 2 years, whether it be in 3 years. It just needs to be done. It's been long overdue. We're talking about a team since 1992. You've only had 6 double-digit win seasons. I believe 6 double-digit win seasons, and I think 7 playoff bursts. So from 92 to 2002,
Right, you was
that's
one of
about
them.
it.
Playoff
That's
wins
about
were
it.
even
And then if you want to
putrid.
subtract the 80s, if you want to just take the 80s out, you had to go from 83. We'll say 83 when Ditka got there. 83 to 63 to get another
63.
championship.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are huge gaps
Blasphemy.
Right.
I
in
agree.
winning. Like we're talking about consistency. There's no consistency, but for one decade with this
Right.
football team, it needs to be changed.
Yeah,
And the
and
Bears always look at themselves as a charter franchise to get respect. They're the only ones in the NFL that don't realize we're the laughing stock of the NFL.
they're in the conversation, JB.
We're-
You're
we're-
100% right.
We can't get right.
No.
And all we ever do is hang our hats on something that was almost 30 years ago.
It was
40
36 years ago, a couple days ago,
Almost
actually.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
And how do you
So-
feel, like? How do you
Happy
guys feel about that?
anniversary.
Like I've always had. Look, I love the '85 Bears, right? I love the '85. I wasn't born around there, but there's our only Super Bowl team, right? You've seen them so many times. We talk about what's fair. Is it fair to them? Is it fair to them at this point that they're pretty much marched out there as like, remember when we won? Remember these guys? Like, smile, Bears fans, keep giving us your money. Like that to me, it's not right. I feel like it's not right. They deserve all the credit in the world.
It's not even fair to you, Ivan. Like,
Correct.
it's not
Correct.
fair to you. I mean, I'm a 38, so I was like 1.5, 2 whenever they won that Super Bowl. I wasn't that old. I don't remember that. And all I ever have to hang my hat on is something that I barely know anything about. As a fan, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? Is that 36 years later, you're still having the same conversation and the same people are in charge of this organization. And that's what has to change here. You mentioned, what do we have to do really to build a Bill Belichick type franchise? What does Bill Belichick do? He gets rid of guys a year early instead of guys a year too late. And that's something that Chicago just can't get their hands around. They can't understand that sometimes you have to make good football business decisions and it's time to move on from guys. I know there are people still yelling about the Kyle Fuller cut. I don't get it. Like, the guy was owed $20 million. You literally would have had to pay him that much money. And he was he was average at best last year. Like, why exactly would you want to keep that guy? What? Just because he had some decent years before? You have to look at these things and look at these business decisions as exactly what they are, as business decisions. And we have to move forward with business savvy football guys as well to build a real football team and know when it's time to get rid of a guy, know when it's time for a big trade move, and not just sit and hang your hat on the fact that we've got a Khalil Mack, we've got this, or a Brian Urlacher stayed for, a year too long. Like, we've got to stop thinking that way as fans and start looking at this as what it is. It's a business. And
Has a
It
business,
absolutely
we're all
is
in
a
this to
business.
winning, aren't we?
It's
No, you're
absolutely
right.
business.
Has that business approach kind of, and I agree with you. You at a certain point, you got to cut ties. You got to realize what you have. But
It's
has
only
that
off
business
the field.
approach- right. But has it bitten them in the ass? Because I feel like they, at every phase of the organization up until this point with the new hire, have treated it just business-like, just like that. If they were running a Fortune 500 company instead of running a football team, in as far as the football side included with the money side.
Yes.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
all
And
you
see,
see is the money side at this point.
And that's what I was going to say. All you see is the money side, because once
Yes.
that check gets signed and that $320 million TV money check come in, I'm happy as an
They
owner.
wash their
But see,
hands with it.
The Bears' problem is they never changed their mindset. They're still kind of operating like it's the 60s, like it's the 70s. If you really pay
Like Papa
attention to
Bear's
what's
still
going
there.
on, you get a guy like, and I hate to bring this guy up because it pains me, but you go to college and they say, you went to Michigan. Oh, we got to get a Michigan guy in here to coach the team. They go and get Jim Harbaugh, whatever, however you feel about him, success, not success, whatever. But in Chicago, when you sit up there and say, oh, I got to get a Chicago guy, but I don't need a football Chicago guy. I'll take a business Chicago guy. I'll look at Crane Kenny's business report and see who's got the best CFO in the business, and I'll get the top chief financial officer and bring him in. But you don't bring that football guy. But then when you get a coach, you get a mirror image of the same guy with the exception of Lovey. you get the mirror image of the same guy every other year. Is that really changing? Is that really productive?
It's funny that you say that, JB, because I was just talking with someone about this today. Look at what we've had since Lovie Smith, okay? We had Lovie Smith, a big, hard-nosed defensive guy, not really great with the media, right? Didn't really have a good offense brought in, right? What do we have after that? Who came in?
Offensive guy, Mark Trestman.
Mark Trestman, who came in. A little bit too forthright with the media, didn't know how to run an offense correctly.
Not a leader of men.
Not a leader of men. They thought he was going to be an offensive guru, and he never was. And then what happens?
Then
Bring in John Fox.
Fox.
Hard-nosed defensive guy, not really one to really share with the media. And then what do you have after that? Another offensive guy that speaks too much to the media and is supposed to be an offensive guru. We are following a pattern of the same thing over and over. Matt Nagy. Now who do we have? A Matt Eberflus, who's, guess what, guys? A hard-nosed defensive guy that is not that great with the media. I'm sure he's not going to be horrible, but is breeding competition and all that stuff. And it's been the same thing. We start with one way and then we go the complete opposite because they don't know what they're doing upstairs. So they just try something completely different from what they had in the previous. But what they don't realize is that they've been doing the same thing since Lovey left. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And you have to come to realize at a point that it's time to try something different. It's try something daring. Try something that you haven't done before. And we're just seeing kind of more of the same stuff, guys.
But Warrick, we talked.
Right.
We even looked at the GM. We can go back. You said they always take the safe pick.
Right. That's the one thing about the Bears. I'll say they always go the safe route. Like the ownership is not that type of ownership. Even though people say he overstepped his boundary, Jerry Jones is gonna make things change. If he don't like the way
he's progressive,
he's gonna change his team. I would even say like a Kraft at the Patriots. Yeah. He'll let Belichick change the team and do how he wanted. I just feel like the Bears always it's a certain way they want it handled. They want it to be like a family, and they bring people in the circle, and it's a Bear family, which is cool. But when we trying to win football games, you gotta make decisions.
Yes.
And that's what I said. Like that's what I wanted to see. What type of direction they went, and to me they just went the safe route again. Somebody that's safe. They got a bunch of rookie guys that's first time, so if they don't work, they easy to usher them on out of here.
But even with the GM, y'all, please show of hands, was Ryan Poles on anybody's short list, or was he the safe pick?
Right.
That's a good point. He was on nobody's radar. Like he wasn't on my radar. I don't know if he was on your guys' radar.
No.
I heard his name maybe one time. One time I heard.
One time I
know one
because I knew
person
he
who had
was
him on their short
affiliated with
list.
the Chiefs. That was it.
Right. But then you look at his resume and you're like, okay, he's been there with the Chiefs. I mean, he's worked around, but he's been there with the Chiefs consistently since they had their run, right? Consistently since they've had their since they got Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, all those guys, and those are great players. But it's like, like who is Ryan Poles? Like who really is Ryan Poles? Like you said, a safe pick. He's with the Chiefs. Look at how the Chiefs are running. The Chiefs are doing something right. Let's go ahead and settle right here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring a little bit of our show in right now with here. I want to have you pump the brakes on that real quick because there's something that I got to say about this. Okay, again, you just mentioned a Ryan Poles, right? He was with the Chiefs for, 7 years or so like that? He was in the entire college scouting department, went up and down. We did the same thing. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so he was all over the place with their player personnel.
Right.
Big college scouting guy, but the thing about it that really makes me wonder here is that this is the same situation we had in 2015. We brought in a guy in 2015 in Ernie Accorsi to hire a football guy for us, somebody that had won Super Bowls. Brought a guy in a Ryan Pace who had been with the Saints. Guess what? 7 years in not the same role all over the place, JB. Some of them were pro personnel. But the same amount of time, 7 years, brought him in. And then a lot of people want to argue with me, but was that really his short list? was Ryan Pohl's shortlist really these three guys? Like,
Couldn't have been.
you can't really sit here and just explain to me after hearing, George go on a press conference and someone ask him, like, if you find a head coach before that GM, what's your assessment going to be and how are you going to look at that? And his answer to that is, we'll know it when we see it. So the day before, or like, I
The
want to say
football
2 days
fan said
before.
this? The football fan said this?
Yes.
The
yeah.
football fan said it.
Football fan. Yeah. The I don't necessarily think there's a football czar guy. Yeah, him. So that guy runs out a couple days before they draft him, and they have their short list, right? They have their short list of guys. The day Ryan Poles is hired, he comes in, he interviews 2 of those guys, correct? And then he has a Zoom call with another, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that. The next day he hires a guy, and then you hear all this from Bill Polian was mad because he didn't get Caldwell. You hear that, I guess, Ted Phillips wanted Quinn. You hear all these stories, and I'm sitting here going, like, is this even really who he wants? So they're still following the same program that they did back in 2015 in my eyes. It's just wrapped differently.
Yep.
Ivan, like, it's just one of those things that I look at that it's kind of eerily similar to what we just dealt with in 2015.
The thing, and you're absolutely right. What I'm most proud of is Ryan Pohl saying, nah, it ain't gonna go down like this. Even if it wasn't his,
maybe that's smoking mirrors, though. I mean, who knows?
Right. It could be smoke and mirrors, but if it is true, and he's like, all right, all I have is this to work with, I'm gonna go ahead and go against the grain and not follow suit with what you want, because and
when will you know that, Ivan? What will be the telltale sign? The draft, free agency. When will you know
that about Ryan Poles?
Yes.
It has to be the draft. I would say once you start getting guys out there, like I said, the HBCU combine is this weekend.
Yep.
You have the Senior Bowl coming up. The combine's going to start coming up. When you start when you draft the number 2 or that second round draft pick, I think we're at 30, 38 or something like that.
I think you're right.
Your first pick in that second round,
right?
You'll know where Ryan Poles is headed, and if it ain't the best offensive lineman available, well, then I don't know where we're going. Like,
and that's what I'm telling you. It probably won't. That's just it, because that's the logical thing to do.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was safety. Honestly, at this point.
Well, that's what I told you. I told you I think they're going to draft safety. I think they're going to go defense.
And that'll be. It depends on who's in the war room, right? Is Ted going to be in the fucking war room again? Is George allowed in the war room? Who's going to be allowed to come near it? Because like they said, they were supposed to give him complete control of the football side of things.
Yes.
Why would they need to be involved? First of all, why would Bill Polian need to be upset when you brought this guy to the team? They decided on him. You said you were going to give him all the football stuff. And then you go ahead and you're upset because he didn't pick your fucking guy. Thank you for your assessments. Kick rock. Kick rock.
Yes.
Let him be his own man. I'm happy with that. Even
and who's to say he didn't pick Eberflus?
I told you I'm bringing Bears fans with a brain to your show.
Exactly. Even with
forget you. I'm taking him.
Yeah. What's that, JB?
I said, who's to say he didn't pick him out of spite? Forget who you want. I'm taking dude.
I believe it. I can believe it. I can see it. I'm just happy for the dude because he didn't allow Ted and George to control things. You know what I'm saying? We don't want that. We don't need a guiding hands or 3 or 4 guiding hands talking, coming up to you, telling you what to do. It reminds you of Office Space where you got 8 bosses and you don't know who you need to report to.
Micromanagement.
Correct.
Way too many Chiefs, not enough engines, and that was the case beforehand. And to your fan Chris here, Chris, I'm not really comparing them. I'm just saying it's the same type of scenario where you're bringing an outside NFL guy in to make all your assessments for you.
Guy.
Yeah.
And then the NFL guy doesn't want to be the NFL guy in your organization. He just wants to be on the outside with his hands in the cookie jar. You know what I'm saying? He just wants to be on the outside.
Because he can always hang his hat on. I'm the great consultant now.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me some money. Give me some money for my thoughts. If it works out, I'm a fucking genius. If it doesn't work out, Thank you for the money and thank you for the time. Like that's pretty much where I see Bill Polian. Even though I trust a Bill Polian more than I would have Ernie Accorsi,
I just
that. Want it to be theirs. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be Ryan's. And I hate having to say Ryan and Matt again. But I want it to be. I want it to be
used
Ryan.
To it, Ivan.
Yeah, right. I want it to be this Ryan and this Matt's choice. I want it to be their team. Yeah. I want them in tandem working together, regardless of what regardless of what Ted and George, regardless of them, stick to each other, work with each other, and just stand your ground. That's all I can say with this team.
Just don't say that C word.
Yes. No. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Oh,
hey, guys,
let's just
we're not having a good week of practice.
Don't say no more.
We're not having a good week of practice, and we're not doing that word.
No, we're done. Cubs. No. Cubs, we can do Cubs. I'm down with that.
Oh yeah, Cubs, yeah, but that other C word, no way.
So real quick, let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys this though, on a lighter note. When do we get to hear from the players to see how they feel? Because I've heard some rumblings that Khalil Mack is pissed.
He's in Egypt right now.
Yeah, he's in Egypt. I've actually heard, and I'm not reporting because I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I've heard reports already that he might be the first guy out the door.
So that could be why.
Because he's not happy, and also on top of that they don't like his salary cap situation, and they're looking to get more draft capital. So he's going to be one of those guys that they might get rid of and just lean on a Robert Quinn and have Travis Gibson on the that would be the left side.
I can see that.
What do you think you're getting for a Khalil Mack in the trade?
You're getting a second and a third, just like Von Miller. Yeah,
so
Von Miller was 31. He had 4.5 sacks. I believe I want to say he had 8.
He had 9 for the season though.
He had 8 the year before, and he had 4.5 when they traded him.
Going into the trade, ended up with 9.
And you're telling me you can't get the same for a Khalil Mack? I think you can. Absolutely.
I think you can. He was leading the league in sacks before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And
same age.
I wish he would have just stood healthy just so I could have seen that race. You know what I'm saying? That would have been an epic race, him and Robert Quinn.
But didn't the Raiders at one point, they offered them a first round? They didn't.
No, they offered him a second and a third, and he turned it down because he wanted a first round pick.
He wanted a first, okay.
They weren't offering that first round pick back, and that's why the trade went null.
Because now, if I'm reading the writing in the walls, now you kind of have to trade him to a playoff Super Bowl almost trending team.
Yeah.
So now that shortens your list.
Yeah.
Now
so
you're looking at the Chiefs, you look at the Titans, you're looking at the Bengals. That shortens your list.
Yeah. And so if you're looking at the Rams formula right now, because the Rams are obviously on their way possibly to another Super Bowl here. So if the Rams indeed go on and win this Super Bowl, you're going to see teams kind of trying to copycat and look for that premier rusher that are in this whole contention window right now. So a Khalil Mack is a perfect guy to get rid of, and that's probably what they're thinking. They're probably hoping and praying, that the Rams win and that model works, because we can buy off our guys and get high value for them, and a lot of teams are going to go for it next year. That's just the way that I see this running down if the Rams indeed get in the Super Bowl and win it.
I could see that happening, especially to a contender, maybe a contender, a playoff team, maybe somebody that thinks that they're for some reason a pass rusher away, or think that a pass rusher could take them to another level. I don't think you're going to sneak into the first round with it unless you go ahead and unless you pull something off to where you can get to that bottom.
It depends on who it is. Like,
if
you trade them to the Eagles, that's a lot different than trading them to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
correct.
So
and that could be a team. That could be one team to really look at too. I honestly didn't really think about the Cowboys.
Yeah, Dallas is a team that they
kind of have to win now. They do
have to win now, and that's why I was like, when Dan Quinn was like out there, or they were allowing Dan Quinn to go ahead and interview for these jobs. I'm like, Dan Quinn is probably the best thing that's happened to you defensively. Yeah. Defensively, because the Cowboys' prolific offense couldn't stop a cold for the past decade. You know what I'm saying? The secondary was always bad. Now they're able to generate turnovers. They got a Diggs. They got a young pass rushing linebacker in Micah Parsons. I Dan Quinn being there, but Khalil Mack being there, that changes
puts
things.
You in a different
level.
That
put you in a Super Bowl.
I think Jerry would give up a one. a late #1 for Khalil.
Yeah. So and you have to think from an NFL execs, sitting up their point of view, like you don't think that defense is really going to be able to match that same performance next year. Because look at how the 2018 Bears were, Ivan. It was the same kind of thing. We led the league in turnovers. We had all this great hype up, and then we had a drop off. So they're probably thinking the same thing up there. Like, can our defense generate that many turnovers? Can we lead the league again in turnovers, or should we shake things up and just really take it up a notch? And I could see Jerry Jones doing that. I really can. JB, that was a good call on that. I honestly didn't even think about them.
So
Yeah, it'll be hard to see Khalil go, but I think what you're saying is the truth. I mean, when you
Red
like
pill.
I said, part of being a good organization is realizing when you have to cut ties, right? Realizing when enough is enough. This is who we are. We're not going to be able to get over the top with what we have. I agree. It hurts, like you said, it hurts because like you got a Khalil Mack. We've been here with him. We've got the best.
You obviously don't. Look what we gave up to get him.
Right. Look what we gave up for him. It hurts. Like all of it hurts because you weren't able to get right for the past 5 years, 4 or 5 years. So it's all gonna hurt. It's all gonna feel like a scab being ripped off. We just want the best, man. We just want the best.
Ivan, don't forget though, free agency. Warrick can tell us about it. Right. Just because we think we should get those players, hey, you guys got too much going on up there. I might want to stay away.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt me as much because I was a player and I understand that it's a business, and I understand that when it's your time to go, when it's the next guy's time, it's time to move on. Because in the end, really, and I saw a comment where they were saying they disagree about Mac, but I was saying if Mac is not going to be happy, which winning always makes everybody happy. But if Bears aren't winning and he's at that point in his career where he want to win, he's at that point where he want to win a championship. So if he ain't winning, he not happy. It's gonna be two people not happy. He ain't gonna be playing his best. The fans and stuff gonna be getting on him about he's not being productive and he make too much money, and that's a bad situation. So with a new coach coming in with new energy, it might be a time, just like you say, to move on, start fresh with some new people. Like accept the fact that we're gonna be rebuilding or revamping a little bit for the next couple of years, and then just start moving forward. But if you could move Mac and get like a second and third, at this point, I would say, why not?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm just going to end the argument with this. If you trade Khalil Mack right now, after June 1st, 2022, you've got a dead cap hit at $12.4 million. You save $17.75 million. And that's just next year. You look at the next year, $8.6 million dead cap, $19.9 million in 2023.
That's hard to turn away.
2024, you've got a dead cap of $3 million. $23 million, $23.25 million in savings.
That's hard to turn away.
That's a lot of money to turn away, including you get extra draft capital that you can use to build, because we need an offense, guys. We are a charter franchise, and we still have yet to have a 4,000-yard passer. It's ridiculous. It's time to change.
Like what Sid Luck, I actually have. It's funny because
He's got it. He's got it on standby.
I got the book.
I got his book. And honestly, Sid Luckman, crazy life. Like, I mean, wild life. But the dude played every position. Like, to understand who Sid Luckman, the dude played every position. Like, the dude was all world for the Chicago Bears, and that was in the 40s. Like, that was in black and white when everything looked like it was going real fast because it was on the projector wheel.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't stress enough how important Justin Fields is. Can't stress enough how important this hire is. Can't stress enough how important Matt Eberflus is to the Chicago Bears. He's, in my eyes, he's the most important hire.
He's the top
in
guy
this
now.
franchise history, man. I feel that is how you're either going to live or die off of this. George, you're either going to be in charge after this in the next 5 years still, or you're not going to be in charge. Ted, you're already out the door. But, this is the most important thing. Otherwise, you got to start looking at maybe selling the team, maybe like bringing in a football
Jeff
czar.
Bezos is ringing on your door, man.
Jeff Bezos, whoever. I just feel like this guy.
I heard Dallas, the Mavericks. Mark Cuban was interested in purchasing the Bears.
One of those.
Right. Mark Cuban as well. I feel like that's where you will be if you screwed this up. That's where you'll be if you didn't do this the right way. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things. Actually, you know what? Before I let you guys go, can I get your predictions for this weekend with the NFL playoffs? Can I get your prediction? Warrick, I know you're a little skeptical at giving your predictions now. but please, if I could get you guys' predictions real quick. Actually, Warrick, we'll start with you. Chiefs and the Bengals.
Sounds like last night.
Chiefs, I really think Joe Burrow and company have a shot. They need to play perfect. How do you feel about Bengals and Chiefs?
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs because I learned my lesson last week. Patrick Mahomes, he's just playing at another level right now. Like he's showing why he's the next in line to be one of the GOATs, like the phrase everybody say now, the GOAT.
Baby GOAT.
He's in line to become the next top quarterback that wins. I mean, he's just in his rhythm, and they playing at home. They had a home crowd behind them. Everything is clicking. Only thing, like you say, the Bengals are explosive. I like Burrow. I like their offense, and the Chiefs will, as long as their defense hold up, because their defense kind of go up and down. And I don't know about Matthew.
He's playing.
He's playing.
Yeah, he's
okay,
playing.
so that solidified a little bit, but I'm going with the Chiefs at home. I'm just gonna keep it safe this week.
JB?
Yeah, JB.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is go on some bulletin board material, and I'm gonna say that Andy Reid is not gonna take his foot off the gas this time. They were winning 28-17 last time they played Week 17. They took their foot off the gas and they only scored 3 points in the second half. They will not make that same mistake twice. I believe Chiefs are favored by like 7.5. I think
it opened at 6, but I think the number's starting to push up towards 7. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way.
Okay.
There's no way. So Patrick Mahomes will be in his third straight Super Bowl.
And luckily for Warrick, we all agreed on this one because you have got to look at this game like this. And just like JB kind of stole what I was going to say.
Always.
The Chiefs were up by 4. Yeah, me and JB. But the Chiefs were up by 14, I believe, twice in that game. And they just blew the lead. This is going to be at Arrowhead. You're going to have your Tyrann Mathieu back to lead that defense. Joe Burrow and those guys, they have reinvigorated that entire organization. I love what they're doing, but I think they're a year too early really to make that big noise and hit that next step. I thought this is about where they were going to end up. I'm excited for them, but in a shootout, you can't go against Patrick Mahomes, man. They might really come out. If I'm Cincy, you're going to come out. I would run the ball as much as you can. Keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Wear that defense out with Mixon. Make sure Mixon is just pounding the rock consistently. You've got some good guys in that secondary, but I think T. Higgins can really make some noise in that game. You got Jamar Chase is playing out of this world, but I still don't think it's enough. I just don't think it is because whenever you're going on a shootout, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, 13 seconds and you travel 50 yards down the football.
We had the Super Bowl last week, Ivan. The Super Bowl's over.
Right. That was our Super Bowl.
It was.
But honestly, it was the way that Leslie approached it. I thought you should know who the playmakers are, right? You should know Travis Kelce is probably going to be targeted. You should know Tyreek Hill probably going to be stretching the field, right? He's probably not going to catch a short pass and try to go with that much time left, even though I would trust him if they did it.
Yeah.
I felt like you should have maybe rushed 3 and maybe spied or just had somebody playing man on Kelce or playing man on Tyreek and then let the zone take care of the rest.
Yeah.
So now, you know what I'm saying? So like
he
now
was
you
playing
have him
safe
pretty
on
much
that play
battling
too.
No. Remember, he came out and they said, even Travis Kelce did. They played him bracket coverage for the corner to the sideline.
Oh, okay.
Kelce went off
He
script.
was worried about that sideline, and then Kelce went off and went
He went off
inside.
script, and that's when he did the little waggle route up the field. So Leslie Frazier called the defense to prevent the out of bounds, but the depth was
not
off.
up the field, not the up
Because
route.
the depth was off.
Okay. Okay. So even then, I think it's just like you said, it's just so hard to go against the Chiefs, man.
The
It's just so hard to go
improvisation
against
champions. That's what they are. They are the champions of improv of the league. I'm promising you this. Like no one does it better than those guys.
Pick your poison, and it's hard. Like
minds.
Patrick Mahomes, the best situation a quarterback could like run into, you know what I'm saying, being drafted
Right.
into the situation
Right.
is probably the best I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I felt like there's so many quarterbacks, a David Carr. If you're put on a different team with a different coach,
Matthew Stafford.
oh,
That's the guy
it's
we're just going to
Matt
talk about in the
Stafford.
next
You
game.
could have a different career, depending, and it sucks because you can't choose where you're going. You know what I mean? You get drafted, you can't choose where you're going, but you could have a different career if one or two things differently happens to you. I just, Patrick Mahomes, just an unbelievable talent. I think the Chiefs end up pulling it off, even though I'm gonna be hoping the Bengals, give it a go. I like the underdogs. I hope they give it a go. In the second game, Niners and Rams, I'm favoring the 49ers, right? Last week I was dead wrong. I thought they were gonna fall short. They
You
ended
and
up making
everyone
a
in the
play.
world.
Right. They ended up making a play. And I mean, who'd have thought a block punt would have ended up winning that game? You know what I'm saying? They found a way to win. I think they do the same thing here. I think they find a way to rattle Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford tries to force a ball into maybe an Odell Beckham with pressure in his face. And it's going to be who could limit the turnovers the most, right? You're going to be playing on a fast track. There's no snow in LA, right? There's no snow in the dome. So who's going to be able to limit the mistakes the most? I think the 49ers are going to be able to do that. Something about how their running game complements their defense and how their defense is getting after it right now. I feel like it's the 49ers. What do you guys think?
Well, I do like the 49ers. I love their defense. Excuse me. I love their run game. But I do not trust Garoppolo. Garoppolo is the reason that I just can't pull the trigger on them. And Matthew Stafford gives me the same vibes, but I trust him a little bit more than Garoppolo.
Go out, make that money.
Matthew Stafford gives me the same vibes of, but I trust him a little bit more. And I know the rivalry that I want to say the Niners actually didn't won most of the games, right? Head to head. So, So that's the part too where I want to lean kind of toward the Niners, but I just don't. It's just Garoppolo. I don't trust him, so I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm going with the Rams and their defense. I feel like their defense and their pass rush, and obviously they got Von Miller, Texas A&M guy. So
clearly,
you knew that was coming.
So I'm going with the Rams.
JB.
So have the Chiefs and the Rams ever played in the Super Bowl before in the history of the NFL?
No.
They will now.
They ever not, honestly.
Because I really feel porn star Jimmy is not the answer.
Porn star Jimmy.
I really feel that, you have the man-child, Aaron Donald. You have Von Miller. You have Leonard Floyd. You have Jalen Ramsey. They even brought Eric Weddle, who was a hell of a safety, to join the fray.
And that was surprising. He's played pretty decent.
He's played pretty good, right? He's played pretty damn good. So I'm just looking at, for what Jimmy Garoppolo does not do well, the Rams combat that, and they do that well.
Right.
Although we know that the 49ers have had the Rams number 5 of the 6 last game, whatever. But it's the playoffs, and it's time to go to the Super Bowl. And I really, really feel I haven't seen Matthew Stafford play like this since that 5,000-yard season. I haven't. Chiefs Rams.
Okay. Okay. For me, yes, the 49ers have had their number. They are 6-0 versus them since 2019. It's a big stat. But the last game they played, they won in overtime. And I feel like that game for me was a game that I look at, and I think the Rams slowly are starting to figure out what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So another crazy stat for me is this, and this is what I'm going to think is really, really going to define this game. When Jimmy Garoppolo does not throw a touchdown pass, the 49ers are 9-2 when he doesn't throw that. That is an insane stat. Wow. So if I'm the LA Rams, I am making sure that I'm making this a shootout as fast as possible, because if you make this a shootout, there is no chance that they come back, because Jimmy G is going to Jimmy G. Jimmy G almost blew the game with the Cowboys. Jimmy G has these moments, but this Rams team almost blew the game against the Tampa Bay team that had no business coming back in that game. It had
no foot off the gas,
getting where it is. But I think Sean McVay's learned that lesson, and I think this is the game for him. This is his benchmark as a coach. He wants this game more than I think he wants anything besides the Super Bowl. So I think they're coming out this game. They're hot right now. As long as they stay on that trail, I'm picking them to win. I'm picking them to go. As much as I like what the 49ers are doing, I think they're one of the most true teams in the NFL. The way that they run, they know what they are, and they don't hide it from anyone, and they make you beat their style. But I think you can really change that narrative and come out and wing the ball out. You've got a good Odell Beckham. You've got a Cooper Kupp who's playing out of this world. Is that enough with that 49ers secondary really to slow them down? I don't think it is. I'm taking the Rams. Close, but taking the Rams.
All right, everybody but me on the Rams.
It might be your new Warrick.
But like I said, if I'm the new Warrick, so be it. Like I said, I like the underdog. I like how the 49ers are. And Warrick, that was no offense to you. Like trust me, I've had a week. I've had weeks where I'm like, damn, I hope
we all do, man.
I hope nobody remembers that. But
we all do.
It's the underdog approach that I'm going with. Even though I picked the Chiefs because I liked how the Bengals, like you said, I like the Bengals. I just think they're, like you mentioned before, a couple years away. The 49ers, I think they have to win now, and I think they have that mentality. I like their head coach. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to see it. Chiefs 49ers rematch. And I'll save my prediction if it does come true. I'll save my prediction for later. But anyways, guys,
I got one for
you.
One more right before we go. Well, actually, two things. One, do you think Trey Lance gets in that game?
Absolutely.
I think he does.
If Jimmy's struggling in the first half, I mean it's desperation time. This is it. If Jimmy's struggling in the first half, I would say you go ahead and you go to Trey Lance in that second half and see what happens. Just because you get the athleticism, the ability to move out of the pocket, you can avoid sacks.
Not even in the second half. They have to go scenario based because now remember they're keying in on Deebo Samuels, who's a little banged up, as their primary ball carrier. The only thing is if you bring in a Trey Lance, now you can have that RPO and you really don't have to key in. You kind of have to stay more honest, and Trey can throw the ball.
Big arm.
Correct.
Big arm. So second thing, right before we go, I like to do a little fun fact right before we go. I got a question for you, Ivan.
Yeah.
Bears running back, Khalil Herbert, had a nickname before he came in. You know what his nickname is and why?
I don't know his nickname.
Aquaman.
Is he? Do we have another guy jumping out of the pool?
No. You know why? He was born with 12 fingers on one hand.
Oh, wow.
And he's got a sixth toe on his left foot. And he still has the sixth toe on his left foot, but he obviously got the extra fingers. I guess.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wait.
Look it up. I'm not lying. I watched the video documentary on this.
Look at Warrick. Yeah. We're like, wait.
What?
So
Not joking.
So is it 1-1?
I
Like,
believe,
is it?
I believe from what I heard, it was one. It was like a pinky that came out on this hand, and I think there was like one in the middle too, or something like that.
Oh, damn.
That had grown in. I watched a documentary on him where he actually went to a school with other kids that had this kind of thing and like sat and talked to him, promoted it. Yeah. Like he went to places where he knew that there were kids that had these type of things and tried to explain to other kids that, hey, it's okay. You don't have to look at them. They're not different, yada, yada, yada kind of stuff.
Professor X was their teacher.
Right. And he's got an extra, he's got an extra toe on top of that on his left foot, and he still has that. And according to what I've heard, it's kind of webbed. So Aquaman, they called him Aquaman for that reason. So fun fact of the night for you, Ivan.
Yeah.
I got to leave you learning one thing tonight. We don't know what we're talking about, so at least you learned one thing.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Right.
Hey guys, man, thank you for joining me. You guys made it a great night. It was a great show, man. I loved having you guys on. Hopefully we could do it again. Before we get out of here, guys, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. If you got social media or anything like that, go ahever you guys want to start.
You guys want to go first, or You
No,
want
it's
me to
you.
throw it
I don't
on?
have any social media.
Yeah. Warwick's got a Facebook, everybody, just so you know. He's going to hide from you, but he does have a Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Me on Twitter. You can Alan_twice Bratcher. Normally it's the Bear Fans with a Brain. You can find us on Facebook. We're very strong on Facebook. We just started a Twitter as well. You find us on 1252 Sports. Find us also on the Chicago Clubhouse podcast every week. We're on there. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, guys. We're all over the place. It's hard to miss it. I share way too much, so you're going to find me, especially on Facebook if you're looking. So hope to see you guys there. We have a great time in there. We like to debate a lot, especially in the Facebook group. Ivan, you've been a big part of that in there. We love you guys having in there, having your takes, having your shows on.
I appreciate
Couldn't be
you guys.
happier with the way that things are going for you guys and for us as well. And we're just going to here to help each other, guys, because at the end of the day, this is like a fraternity for us. And any way that we can help you guys, we're always here for you. It was a great time to be here, Ivan. We couldn't thank you enough for having us, man. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Love the clips and everything like that. It was such a fun show, like Bill said. Thank you, Bill, for reaching out, guys. Yeah, man, I again appreciate you. Let's do it again sometime soon. I know we got the Super Bowl coming up. There's still a little bit more football left. Still a little bit more. We're always going to be talking Bears. So let's see if we could get this going again sometime. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Great show, Ivan.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Good night.
Shout
Have a
out.
good night. All right, guys. That was Alan, JB, and Warrick from Bears Fans with a Brain and the Chicago Clubhouse podcast. That was such a fun podcast, man. It's always better when I'm not just talking to myself. I mean, I'm talking to you guys. Trust me, I love you guys, the fans. But when I'm here just rattling things off on myself, it gets a little bit lonely, and you want to have some fun. And that's what the guys brought today. They brought some fun. They brought some energy, and I'm greatly appreciative. Thanks, Chris. It was a great show. Thank you for everybody in the chat for chiming in. Bears got a new coach. Be skeptical, but don't be a hater. Don't be closed-minded. Be open-minded. Allow the guy to have his shot, and let's see where we go from there. Before I let you go, make sure you like, share, and subscribe Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter and Instagram. Also, like Another Bear Show on YouTube. Like and share that. Also, download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps from. All right, guys. I'm Ivan Vargas for JB, Allen, and Warrick. It was a great show. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you on Monday. Monday at 4 o'clock, I'll be on with another episode of Another Bears Show. Peace.
That's the Chicago way.